Now, the 80s was all about loud fashion, big hair, and of course, great music. And our next guest, he had, well, 2 out of 3 of those, the big hair and the great music. He gave us some of the most loved songs like Every Time You Go Away and Oh Girl. We give a warm welcome to Paul Young, who's in studio this morning, and you're here to take part in the Hitman David Foster and Friends concert. You know, we call him the Hitman. Everyone calls him the Hitman. So, first time to Singapore, Paul?
It is my first time, yeah. Something went wrong. I didn't get it. It seems very strange.
What have you seen so far? What's caught your attention?
I've just had a little walk around the local area where I'm staying, and the thing that gets me most of all is the architecture. Some lovely, lovely old buildings.
Okay. But we're going to talk about your music. That's why you're here this morning. I mean, many of us knew you from the 80s with that song, Every Time You Go Away, but you never really left music. Right? I mean...
No, I didn't. I think you showed a video of... Have you shown something called Ball and Chain as well? Where I had the long hair and the beard?
Yes, that's right.
So that... so to about the mid to late 90s, I was still making albums then. I kind of changed my style a little bit and moved out because I got into Tex-Mex music.
Okay.
I've had
Tex-Mex?
Tex-Mex music.
What is that?
It's like cowboy hats, pedal steel guitars, accordions. We sing stuff in Mexican.
Okay.
And so that kind of... and I've had a Tex-Mex band now for 20 years, and we do it for fun. Right. The guitarist plays with Queen and Paul Rodgers and Tom Jones. They're all good players. But that changed the sound of my late 90s music for a while, and it kind of went out more sort of guitar-based, because in the 80s everything was synthesizer-based.
Was that?
Well, because I don't like to just keep doing the same thing all the time. And it was nice to do a change. But now, it's 30 years on, it's nice to go back and do the old hits, you know. So.
Was it hard? Do you find it hard that everywhere you go, people will call up that same old song, you know, from the 80s? I mean, that...
Yeah. No, it's not so bad. I mean, in actual fact, because I do a lot more touring in Europe, for instance, Love of the Common People, we've changed the arrangement, and we do it in kind of a New Orleans stroke Little Feat style, but for the purposes of being in Singapore, we thought it'd be much nicer to keep to the original arrangement.
Oh, okay. You should have do 2 versions. One the original, and then come up with a localized version for every country you visit.
A localized version.
Put in a few keywords.
Yeah, that would be funny. Yeah, that would.
But I mean, do you look back now at that point of career? What would you have done differently? Do you think you know?
I wouldn't have worn that jumper that I wore on Love of the People.
But it was in then. That was.
Well, no, it was a Christmas show, so I thought, I'll wear a woolly jumper because it's Christmas. But a lot of people didn't see the funny side, or they didn't get the joke.
What was the tough part about being in the music business at that time? What was the toughest?
It wasn't so tough, really. No? I mean, there was a lot of hard work involved. There was the constant touring and never being at home was the only tough part, but that was my choice. You know, I wanted the success, and when I got it, I just kept on the road.
Okay. And did it bother you that everywhere you went, people want to hear that one same song, or the 2 or 3 favorites? Do you ever get tired of singing it?
No, I'll tell you where I was lucky there is it all depends where I went. So in Germany, the biggest song was Come Back and Stay. In England, it was Wherever I Lay My Hat. Down here, it's probably Every Time We Go Away was the biggest, maybe Love of the Common People. So it varied from place to place, and so I could always change the set a little bit. I'd say there's about 8 songs really. There's Oh Girl as well. Sense and Donna I did with Zucchero, which was #1 all over Europe as a duet. So I've got enough songs, and they're not always asking for one.
Okay.
There's about 6 or 7.
When you look at the music industry today, you know, comparing it to your back in the 80s or 90s, you know, I mean, do you think it's a lot tougher now, or what would you say is the challenging bit?
I think it's easier to find your target audience because of the internet, because of YouTube, posting stuff up. You and the audience can find each other. Right. I think where it's a lot tougher in the industry is when you begin to get any kind of success. Record companies want it to be there and then, and they'll give you, say, 12 months or 18 months, and if you don't get a hit, you're off. Whereas in the 70s and the 80s and through into the early 90s, record companies would nurture an artist and they'd let the artist grow a little bit. But nowadays, kids don't seem to have the time. They've got to know what they're doing and do it now, you know. They don't get time to find
I mean, it's true. It's very much an instant generation, you know.
It is, yeah. But it's great because for all the artists and styles of music that they push on you through some of these reality TV programs, you've got the internet, which gives the more artists with more to offer. I think the internet's a better outlet for them.
Right, right. Did you songwriting versus performing on the stage? Would you ever have to pick between the two? I mean,
I got into songwriting late. I think I always had very itchy feet, and I couldn't sit down long enough to write a song. I was too excited. So that came later. The Ball and Chain song that you played, I wrote that, and a lot of material that came after that, and even had some covers out in Nashville. Some people did them, but I still prefer the live thing most.
And I guess, you know, you get to connect with the audience and you kind of feed off them when you perform as well, right?
Yeah, and I've always enjoyed that. There's a lot of people get scared by it. I don't really get scared by an audience. I kind of regard them as my friends. Otherwise they wouldn't be there, would they? So, so I think that if they're my friends, they'll allow me to do anything I want to do.
Almost anything. Almost anything. Again, depending on which country you're in. So what are you working on these days?
Actually, I'm doing some recordings with Arthur Baker, who was a producer in the 80s, but he's still making records, so I do that. I released a cookbook in England.
Okay.
Because I did MasterChef and Hell's Kitchen, if you know those programs. So they know that I like food, and I recently did my first recipe book, and I've been doing a book signing.
Okay. You cook much? I mean, you've been cooking?
Yeah, I cooked a lot at home, but once I got to do Hell's Kitchen, I was working with a chef called Marco Pierre White, who's a Michelin-starred chef, and I learnt a lot. You know, it was a good program to be on. It was tough, and so that's actually now my repertoire is getting a bit wider. It's mostly food from Louisiana, Mexico, Italy, with a little bit of Spanish influence.
Wow, okay. You should put that into one of your shows when you're on tour. I mean, people love to eat and watch a show, right? I mean, like, okay, I'm going to break out the cookie or meal, you know, whip up some food, you know. Well, you're here to take part in the David Foster and Friends concert, you know, and I guess working many of these other musicians that you've known for quite a while as well, right?
Well, I hadn't met any of the artists apart from Chaka. Yeah. And I ran into Chaka Khan. I went to see Stevie Wonder play at Wembley in London, and it happened to be his birthday. So they'd invited a lot of artists along, and when we got there, they said, "You're all going to sing Happy Birthday to Stevie Wonder." And it was televised as well. And Chaka was there, and I struck up a conversation, and I said, "I'm recording a song that you did when you were in Rufus, called Stop On By, because it's a Bobby Womack song, and I love Bobby Womack." So she said, "I'll come and sing it with you." And so she did. Right. So we did a duet together in 1990, I think. Okay. But the others I've not met yet.
Okay, but it should be a fun concert. I mean, what can you tell fans who are heading out? I mean, what can they expect?
I'll keep it to the hits because it's my first time in Singapore. Yeah. So I'll be doing the hits that they know, and I'll be joining in with David on one of his songs as well.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. All the best, and just stay off the chili crabs the night before. Maybe do it after the show.
Good idea.
Thanks so much, Paul, for coming in this morning. Singapore Young there on how his music has evolved with the times, and you can catch Paul, along with other iconic artists like Chaka Khan and Kenny Babyface Edmonds, perform at the Hitman David Foster and Friends concerts. It's taking place at the Star Theatre in Singapore on the 2nd and 3rd of November. And if you want more information, do visit their website. It's ticketbooth.com. We've got the address on screen as well.